Greetings and thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to be talking about how to grow healthier lawns in Montgomery County, especially in light of the coming Healthy Lawns Act that is going to take effect for private businesses at the start of 2018. So there are four things that we're going to cover today. What is the law? Why does it matter to the county and to the environment? What it means to you as a gardener, and what we should be doing next. A little bit of context might be helpful, and we need to remember that lawns come from England, and England has a cool and wet climate that is ideal for growing turf, and that's why there's so many beautiful lawns there. Now, that said, we live in the mid-Atlantic region of the U.S., and we most certainly do not have a cool, wet climate. But that doesn't mean that lawns can't be done correctly here if we work at it. It's just important to take a little bit of a different approach. This is a picture of a garden we did recently for a customer here in Montgomery County, and they wanted to keep the lawn, and that was perfect. We were able to work it into the garden and get them a lawn that is treated organically and is maintained on an ongoing basis according to organic principles. So what are the key points to remember? And if you remember nothing else about this presentation, these are really the things to take away. The first one is it can definitely be done, but it does take time and effort. Secondly, it's all about the roots and the soil. The plant, the turf itself, is almost a secondary thought here. And lastly, and probably most importantly, we need to start treating our lawns like we treat our gardens instead of a totally separate piece of the landscape. So the Montgomery County Department of Environmental Protection has put together some really excellent information about the Healthy Lawns Act, and we have incorporated some of the slides from Stan Edwards here that we're going to be using to describe it. First of all, what does the Lawn Care Act actually do? And like we said before, this will be taking effect in 2018 for private facilities in Montgomery County, but it is already in effect for public parks, etc. So the most important piece is that only listed pesticides will be able to be used on lawns and playgrounds and children's facilities in Montgomery County. This is really the core of the law. They want to make sure that we get to a point where we're using pesticides that are certified correctly and not using things like neonics and other dangerous chemicals on our lawns. Most of the rest of the law is associated with a pretty broad and ambitious outreach and enforcement program that Montgomery County is going to be putting in place. But it's also important to remember that the Parks Department for Montgomery County is already in the process of implementing this law. What does the law not do? And this is also important to remember. It doesn't affect what kind of pesticides can be sold in the county, so you're going to be able to see, pretty much any chemicals that are allowed in the state in your local hardware store. It doesn't restrict what kinds of pesticides you can use in your garden or trees and shrubs, and it doesn't apply to fields or golf courses. Also, it's not applicable in all jurisdictions in Montgomery County. Just last week, the city of Gaithersburg decided that they were not going to be taking part in this law. So what substances can be used? And the key thing to remember here is there is a list that is being built by the National Organic Standards Board of pesticides that are appropriate for use in organic lawn care. And when you get down to it, you're looking for minimum risk pesticides. Okay. There are exceptions, and these are important exceptions. They are in place so that we can still deal with invasive species, with health hazards, with pests that are associated with property or indoors, and not surprisingly, pests associated with agriculture. So there are a host of exceptions to this. Think of this really focused on the typical suburban and urban lawn. That's what we're really focused on here. Now, part of the complication from this is that the list of allowed pesticides is very long and very complicated, and to be honest, we don't envy Montgomery County for having to manage the process of keeping the list going. What's important to remember is that you'll be able to have a list of what exactly is available. It's going to be available in all lawn and garden and hardware stores, on websites, etc. So you'll have access to this information, but in general, think organic, you're going to be safe. Now, why did the county council adopt this? And it really comes down to 5 things. First of all, human health. Pesticides are toxic. They need to be in order to work. And the fewer pesticides we can use, the better off we're going to be. Importantly, water quality. We need to remember that 90% of our drinking water comes from the Potomac River. And pesticides, especially when not used carefully, wash straight into the river. Been a lot of information in the media lately about the challenges going on in the honeybee and pollinator and butterfly populations. Pesticides kill bugs, and honeybees are bugs. So using them less can only help us. Also, something that's changed in the last few years, there's been dramatic improvement in how organic lawn care is done and the processes associated with it. We're going to get into those in a couple minutes. But the county council really felt that federal and state regulation was not working for what they were trying to accomplish here, and they felt that something extra needed to be done. There are a couple legal challenges currently going on with this law. The general consensus is that those are not going to be successful, and the law will take effect in 2018. Why does it matter to us as gardeners, right? Lawns are the largest crop in the U.S. There is an area the size of Texas planted with lawns, but we know how to grow healthy, durable lawns organically, okay? We mentioned before the effect of pesticides on people, pollinators, water, and wildlife, and stormwater. But one of the additional benefits associated with this is a lot of organic lawn care uses electric and other equipment that are quieter and that have fewer carbon emissions. So, not surprisingly, Backyard Bounty is a big fan of this initiative. We are fully behind it and support what Montgomery County is trying to do here. So how do we actually do it? There are really 3 primary steps to getting yourself an organic lawn that is durable and sustainable. Testing the soil, committing yourself to the use of only organic products, and adopting some revised practices. We pulled these from Osborne Organics. The link is there on your page. There's a tremendous amount of information there on how to actually go about doing this. You can also talk to a host of different contractors such as Backyard Bounty who are experts in this. Step number 1, it's really all about the soil. The big difference between conventional and organic lawn care is that organic lawn care focuses on the soil, okay, giving the soil enough nutrients and enough ability to sustain the plant. Okay. Conventional lawn care with pesticides and fertilizers really focus on the plant itself, which means that the soil is not able to support it. After a transition, it's going to be the soil and not the product that supplies the needs of the grass. Okay. That is going to make for stronger grass, stronger roots, and a turf lawn that is actually more resilient and better able to survive summer and other stresses. Step 2, using organic products. While the law is focused just on pesticides, a key part of moving to organic lawn care is using all organic products, both pesticides and fertilizers. Okay? And the reason for that is that organic fertilizers send the nitrogen through the soil, and that creates stronger roots over time. And that's what's going to make your turf stronger. It's going to reduce runoff. It's going to make the turf better able to withstand stress. As part of the gardens we build, we frequently remove turf, and unfortunately, quite often when we take this turf off, we can just peel it off with our hands because the turf is not strong enough, the roots aren't deep enough. You don't need a big machine to take this turf off. You can just scrape it away. And that's the sign of, a lawn that is not healthy, and when you get some of our big storms here, the water will rush right off of it. Any chemicals that you put on it will go right into the storm drains. Third step is changing the practices, and this includes things like overseeding, aeration, and thatch management, better irrigation, etc., and things that we've kind of gotten away from over time as we've become more reliant on chemicals. And we like to think of an analogy where when taking care of our health, we know we should go to the gym, we know we should eat well. There are a lot of things we can do to make ourselves healthier over time, instead of at the first sign of a cold going out and getting some antibiotics, right? We've kind of done the same thing with how we manage lawns in this country. Instead of taking those initial steps to keep us healthy over time, we become too reliant on the chemicals. And it's important to remember that, the saying an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure is really applicable both in our health but also in how we manage our lawns and our gardens. Now, it is crucial to remember that this takes time and effort, right? But it isn't it isn't dissimilar to your garden, right? When you're putting a garden in, you understand that you're going to be investing a fair amount of time, effort, and resources at the front end in order to get some long-term benefits. Okay, the data that we've got on this slide are expected costs associated with organic versus conventional lawns. This is data from the NOFA organization. And what you want to remember here is that there is investment on the front end, but over time, the cost to manage an organic lawn is almost identical to that for a conventional lawn. Best of all, there are a ton of resources for you if you want to take this step. One of our favorites, in addition to Osborne Organics, is NOFA. Again, we've got a link here on an organic lawn care guide that they have, and they provide very detailed instructions for you on how do I go about transitioning from a conventional lawn to an organic one, what's involved, what steps do I need to take, what products am I looking at, what costs are involved with it. So make sure that you check this out, talk to somebody in the industry, and really just commit to doing this over time. The transition period is generally around 3 years. So again, a couple things to remember. Transitioning to an organic lawn can be done, but it takes time and effort. It's really about the roots and the soil. The turf will follow if you take care of the roots and the soil. And treat your lawn like you treat your garden. Thank you so much for the time. There's a lot more information available at backyardbounty.net.